sometimes when gold isn't readily available, silver will do just fine. Let's talk about it right now.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, my name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano.
And we're the host of the Locked On Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making us your very first listen every day. You can check out and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Locked On Rays, as well as wherever you get your podcast, the other platforms, Apple, Spotify, Odyssey, whatever it may be. I know we haven't had a mailbag episode in a while, but we are compiling those, so you can send us an email or voice memo to lockedonrays@gmail.com. So without further ado, first it was Jeffrey Springs who got inked to a contract extension. Now it's Pete Fairbanks, and maybe early on this week it'll be Yandy Díaz. But I guess we should start with what is officially official. Pete Fairbanks will be in a Rays uniform, hopefully, for the next 3+ years.
Just like I said with the Springs extension a couple days ago, tremendous move here with extending Fairbanks. We talked about it in the player reviews for this season. If you haven't checked out the player reviews, just go to YouTube. There's a playlist for all the player reviews that we did in 2022. And his was so spectacular, Kevin. I remember that the only negative thing that we had to talk about was the H word, the health. How is he going to be next season and the seasons after that? You know, that's the big question mark with Pete Fairbanks, but undoubtedly the stuff is there. I love the left on base strand percentage, and his was at 89%. I mean, this guy just like really turned out very, very effective 2022 season. Now, I do want to kind of take this time of extension season that the Rays are having, Kevin, and understand that when I meant in the cold open, the gold and the silver, the gold medal to give the front office would have been, give us that lefty power bat. Give us what you said that you would provide. They did not provide that. Now, the worst thing that they could have...
Not yet, anyway.
Not yet. Very true. Keep me honest. Not yet, anyway. But the worst thing that they could do is just to put their hands in their pockets and do nothing. Just stand idle. This is the second best thing that they can do to amp up the fandom. Why? Because for so long, Rays fans know that there's an expiration date for players. They get too good, they're going to get higher salaries, and they're going to be shipped off. Like, we know this as fans. It doesn't negate the fact that it sucks and that you don't get to see your favorite players for a long time. But this is the best thing they could have done for the fandom. We're sorry we didn't get you the left-handed bat that we said that we would get. That sucks. Things were expensive. Trades were too expensive as well. But hey, you like Yandy Díaz, he's going to get extended. You like Jeffrey Springs, he's going to get extended. You like Pete Fairbanks, he's going to get extended. That's what I mean by silver medal here, Kevin. This is the second best case scenario to amp up the fandom. Is tell them, get a jersey. It's okay to get a jersey from these guys. I don't know if you feel the same way.
No, and just providing a little intel here with Pete Fairbanks, his deal with the Rays is for $12 million over the next 3 years. It could be worth up to $24.6 million over 4 years with an option. And there's a lot of incentives based on production and appearances, games pitched, so on and so forth. But his salaries over the next 3 years at least are basically 3.66, 3.66, 3.66 in 2023, 2024, 2025, and then in 2026, a $7 million salary or a $1 million buyout. Now, question with Pete Fairbanks. I understand his injury history and the volatility of relievers. I almost think that, again, never say no to your first millions, but he almost got, is it fair to say maybe shortchanged in a way? I mean, I'm seeing relievers out there in free agency that I've never heard of that are getting, 2 years, 15, 18, $20 million deals.
I don't think he got shortchanged because of that injury. I mean, like, how many relievers have we seen? Nick Anderson. Do you think?
Yeah.
I mean, Pete knows what happened to Nick Anderson, and Nick is not going to make the money that Pete already has guaranteed. Like,
yeah, that's a really good point as well, because I think that's part of this equation too with Pete Fairbanks, Jeffrey Springs, Yandy Díaz. If that deal gets done, it looks like it's going to get done. Is that they can see what happened to Nick Anderson. They can see what happened to Andrew Kittredge, Austin Meadows, Ryan Yarbrough, Brendan McKay. He hasn't even gotten his opportunities yet due to injuries. And so that's also a very astute point that you make too.
No, yeah. So I wouldn't say shortchange. Let's say he becomes the next Trevor Hoffman, the next Mariano Rivera. He could have made more money through arbitration, sure, but I don't. I'm not the baseball fan, which there are so many there in anti-social media that goes like, "Oh, this guy's getting screwed." It's like, it's millions. Like he's still like. There were people that said, "Oh, Wander Franco, man, he really left some money on the table." You don't know if he's going to get hurt and then just doesn't play anymore. Like I feel like these guys that take the guaranteed money usually made the right choice, like the majority of them. And in this specific case with Pete Fairbanks, isn't he a mechanical engineer? Like he's a smart dude.
Right.
So I feel like the way that it's also structured, I love this mentality by Pete. No increments, like no. 3.67 for the next 3 years. I don't need to, see that curve go up. He understands the Rays front office. It's a fixed payment. I feel like that's also very smart by Pete to have that kind of deal.
Yeah, and he can get, again, I didn't really dive into all the details there, but even just getting to 35, 40 games finished, he can really make several $100,000 more each year with all of that. And look, I don't think he's ever going to become the next Mariano Rivera or Trevor Hoffman, but if he's a reliever that sticks around for the next 7, 8, 9 years, there's free agency that is within reach for him. It's not like he'll be a 38-year-old going into free agency. So he'll still have the opportunity to make additional money if that's what works out for him. We'll talk more about this, but first, we have to tell you about FanDuel. This year, the only app that you need at your Super Bowl party is FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. And we're really excited about our new sports betting partner for Locked On because they are, like we said, the #1 sports book in America. It is FanDuel. And if you're new to FanDuel, that's even better. They have so many great features that make betting on sports fun and easy. So download FanDuel now so you can bet Super Bowl 57. Man, already 57. With a no sweat first bet, you'll get up to $3,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. FanDuel lets you bet on everything from the money line to point spreads to who will score a touchdown. The FanDuel app is safe, secure, and super easy to use. Best of all, you can get paid for your winnings instantly. So join FanDuel today at FanDuel.com/lockedon to claim your no sweat first bet on Super Bowl 57. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon, LOCKEDON. Again, LOCKEDON. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
Kevin, tangent, real quick.
Yes.
Being a football guy, you said Super Bowl 57. Does it bother you that as a football fan, like it's just like in numerical order instead of the year? Is it annoying? Like
instead
you have to
of
back,
Super Bowl 2023.
Exactly. Yeah. Does it bother you or does it not matter?
No, it doesn't matter. It's something I grew up with, and you know what? It keeps me privy to the Roman numerals, so I don't have an issue with it.
Okay. All right.
Uh,
Fair enough. Okay. All right. That's all.
yeah, I keep
Because I'm
going.
like, what? Wouldn't it be easier to remember the year than this arbitrary 47? Like people are like, oh, the 47. Oh, the Steelers won that one. Like I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's true. I don't remember any of that whatsoever, but yeah, I have not. Really, the only thing I've cared about the Super Bowl is which teams are playing in that thing and how exciting the halftime show is going to be, and whether the commercials are going to be good or sucky. That's kind of what it comes down to.
Fair
For
enough.
me, I'm a simple man in that respect. One guy that maybe could play in the NFL, he's definitely strong enough. Yandy Díaz. Yandy Díaz. It's so
Yes.
funny because, again, as of this recording, nothing has been finalized, but the Rays are rapid fire with these extensions. Apparently, first Springs and then Fairbanks, and then we hear reports and rumors, and looks like it is very substantiated that Yandy Díaz could ink a 3-year, $24 million contract with a 2026 option with the Rays. And Diaz, of course, at 31 years old, is coming off legitimately a career year with the Rays.
Yeah, no, career year, tremendous. I mean, he was the most productive hitter for the Rays last season. It's good to see him make this deal with the Rays. He is a fan favorite. And when you look at now this team, he has been with the Rays since 2019. Like you're talking a guy that's going to play more than 6-7 seasons with this team. That's pretty cool. Again, this is the sort of stuff you have to do as a front office to keep the fandom engaged. Very, very well done right here by the Rays front office and ownership, to give the okay to ink these guys, these sort of contracts. So you have to do that. You didn't do the first priority that they said was A1. Well, this is something else. And Yandy Díaz, I know that everybody had dreams of we're going to fix that launch angle one day. You don't have to. Would it be great if he was also a 30, bomb guy? Yeah, it would be.
Then he wouldn't be signing a 3-year, $24 million extension. The Rays would, you wouldn't be able to keep him for 1 year of arbitration, 2 years maybe, and then you have to ship him off after that.
If he were a 30 homer guy, he would be right-handed Jordan Alvarez. Like that's so you would have to pay 150, so no, it's great. And he doesn't have to be that. I mean, he can just, not everybody needs to be a power hitter. And I feel like fans sometimes forget that when they're like, oh, he only has an 820 OPS or like, oh, 720 OPS. Like some people are going to have a 720 OPS and you have to be okay with that. Not everybody's going to have an 850, 900 OPS. Like they can give something else. And Yandy Díaz sets the table. He's an on-base machine. I mean, for God's sakes, his on base was at 400 last season. That's ridiculous. So no, tremendous to see this, man. I'm really happy. I mean, this if you give me like a podium of which extension is the best one out of all of them, I think that the Yandy Díaz one is the one that I got the most excited about.
Yeah, I agree. He may be one of the most underrated hitters in all of baseball. And I know we've talked about the launch angle thing ad nauseum. And I think that, look, he might not ever be a 15, 17, 19 homer guy, but I'll take a 400 on base percentage. I'll take a guy who walks more than strikes out. I'll take a guy who gives you a bunch of doubles and a great OPS plus. And, the thing with Yandy too is, with the launch angle, like, yeah, he might hit a lot of ground balls and more line drives, but that really doesn't matter because he hits the ball so hard. And playing at the Trop with the artificial turf, I mean, you're just naturally going to get base hits that way. And with the shift rules changes, there might even be more opportunity for Yandy Díaz to be even more productive. And what I like is, it's kind of funny or interesting because, yes, I guess slightly long in the tooth at 31 years old, but Yandy seems like a guy who really takes care of himself, and his strength isn't going to go away anytime soon. Maybe his mobility to some extent, but that's an easy fix for the Rays. Just move him to first, have him DH a little bit. You have third base occupied by somebody named Curtis Mead or someone else at some point. So I think that they sort of have a a methodology for Yandy Díaz going forward. And you need an anchor like that in the lineup. I mean, I know he's, I pencil him in at the leadoff spot or the number 2 spot. And I think what's so great about these extensions is you're keeping you have a core group together. And we can even go
Yes.
back to Wander and Manny and Brandon Lau and all the other extensions, and keeping that continuity of winning, successful, solid baseball players. I think that's so important. And what's funny is that, neither of these 3 guys have made all-star appearances yet. We don't know if they'll make all-star appearances, but really at the end of the day, that doesn't matter to me. It's just they're really, really good ball players that seem to really enjoy and relish this organization and want to win. So, and I think, getting this arbitration crap out of the way, I don't know, maybe this is a market inefficiency for the Rays, is like, hey, let's make guys sweat as much as possible before we get to the arbitration hearings, and then we'll throw them a deal and see, like, okay, maybe I will take a handful of millions for the next handful of years, if you will. And that should put them at ease and just allow them to focus on, one thing or one, it eases them to where I can just play baseball. I know I'm going to be making my money, and I can try to help this organization win a championship and guide some of the younger players as well.
2 things with what you said, and I agree with the shift. First of all, because we always joked around that if you look at Yandy Diaz's spray chart, it just looks like a lefty. It looks like a lefty pulling the ball to second and first base, but he's a righty. So now you're going to see maybe some of those squeak by even more. So that's going to be really, really good for the Rays offense that needs more hits. Is for him to get a little bit less, be less of a victim if being shifted on. And number 2, you said something about guiding the young guys there. I think you said he's 31, which means that he made his debut around, I don't know, 6 years ago with the then Indians, now the Guardians.
Yeah.
So he was an old rookie, but that just tells me that he persevered and he's a professional and he knows what he needs to do. They've seen his work ethic and they like it. They wouldn't sign him if they didn't like his work ethic. I'm saying all this because where he's in the lineup, the fact that he speaks Spanish, I think it's great that Wander Franco is going to have a Yandy Díaz in the locker room for years to come. Wander Franco is a very special talent, very special player. But young humans can sometimes be young. And if they don't have the right role models next to them, they can do not great things. Yandy Díaz is just such a Nelson Cruz vibe to me in that locker room for Wander that I think that's just a tremendous way of doing a service to your clubhouse. That core, I love that you said the core, because now Brandon Lau came in 2018, Yandy 2019, Manny the next year. You got Brandon. The core is still intact, and that's so important for teams that want to win, that feel a camaraderie, and not like it's just turnstile station all the time with players coming in and out.
And maybe it gives some hope to the younger players of, hey, if I do the right things and I am successful and I work hard and I do what's expected of me, that maybe I can get offered that contract extension. And you lock up some of these types of players because, again, we know how arbitration hearings go, and players can get a bitter taste in their mouth of the organization afterwards, whether they win or lose that hearing. So now you take a little portion of that out of the equation, and you've got guys that are, quote unquote, I mean, in a way, champions of the organization going forward. Now it remains to be seen what's going to happen with, I don't know, with extension season, maybe they're looking at Jason Adam next. I don't know, but they still have to, of course, hash out Adam and Thompson and Poche and Ramirez. But I really like what the Rays are doing here. And again, it's pretty, I think it's a win-win on both sides. It's not like the Rays, it's not a ton of risk for them, but it still helps the player and provides the player some security as well. So,
yeah. And from what we've heard, again, not anything finalized as we're recording this on Sunday evening, but 3-year, 24 mil. If he goes the Pete Fairbanks route, that's 8 mil per season. You know,
Right.
it's for a guy that's going to give you 3+ WAR. That's fantastic. You know that
Yes.
I don't think. I mean, that's as a bang for buck as you can. He was a 3.8 F4 guy last year. So I mean, if a WAR is if a win is what 8 mil, usually 8 to 9 mil.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just reaping the benefits, baby.
Yeah. And the other thing too is with all these extensions, I think that's, you know, I'd mentioned that, hey, did Pete Fairbanks get shortchanged a little bit? I mean, you could argue that for all these guys to some extent, but also they have to realize their injury histories and their ups and downs in their respective careers. So, you know, that probably
Yes.
makes it even more likely of, okay. And of course, like we mentioned, seeing examples of other players who maybe were offered that money or weren't offered that money, and now, you know, they're fighting for a spring training invite or something like that. Like, what's happening with Austin Meadows? What's happening with Nick Anderson? You know,
I mean,
Ryan Yarbrough
life,
settling for 1-year deals for, you know, not tiddlywinks, but, you know, he threw 600 innings for the Rays. You know, he's one of the A's or the Rays' biggest innings eaters, and he doesn't really have much to show for it.
life can change on a dime, especially in that
Yeah.
industry, man. I mean, one day you can be the best closer in baseball, and then the next, you know, you're like you said, you're fighting for a spring training invite. So no, I think this is a very smart move from the front office into the player as well, because you never know what's going to happen. And
Yeah.
you know, you've got to secure your millions. A guy that's been DFA'd multiple times, has had an ACL injury. Yeah, he's going to look at this as like, this is fantastic for me and my family. A guy that had 2 Tommy John surgeries like Pete Fairbanks, yeah, probably great to have this, you know, guaranteed money. Yandy Díaz, a guy, again, old rookie. When he gets to free agency, I mean, it's going to be a minute, and he's going to be a little bit older. But now getting the guaranteed money helps him out. No, I feel like all of these three, yes, do they have risk? Sure. But overall, I think it's a win-win situation for both parties.
The only issue with these contracts is there's not a clause in there for unlimited lifetime supply of Built Bars.
Yes, that would be best. But you know what? You don't have to do that, because now you can just go to your, you know, neighborhood Walmart or your Sam's Club if you have one, and you can grab them right there on the store. You don't need to go to built.com if you don't want to. You can go to Walmart, you go to the pharmacy section, and you can grab yourself a box of delicious and tasty Built Bars. You know, I've told you this 1,000 times, and I will tell you 1,000 more. They're covered in 100% real chocolate. So they're a delicious treat, but they don't have all the fat and calories that you are trying to avoid. Okay, they usually have 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, with a whopping 17 grams of protein. So today you can either go to built.com if you're that type of person, but also you can go to Walmart or you can go to Sam's Club and grab yourself a 13-bar box with brownie batter or coconut puffs or double chocolate if you so choose. So today, go get your delicious and tasty and healthy Built Bars.
All right, before we get to some listener comments on Pete Fairbanks' extension and what we believe is Yandy Díaz extension, first question, will the Rays extend anybody else into the offseason and or over the course of spring training? Or
I said no, I think, after the Springs one, and then 2 of these came out. So, I mean, I'm going to go again and say no, just because, I mean, the odds are it's going to be negativo, but yeah, I'm going to say no.
Yeah.
How about you?
Okay, I'm going to also say no, and I know that people have been saying, hey, let's sign Shane next or Randy next. Shane being Shane McClanahan, not Shane Boz, I presume. But I don't have any inside knowledge into this, but my guess is they might have taken that pool of money that they had maybe allocated towards a Shane McClanahan and are just shifting it to these other guys. I think that's a possible theory.
It's a great conspiracy theory. I like that.
Yeah.
Wait,
now, so that's
how much guaranteed money have they done? 31 for Springs plus 24
plus
from
12.
So that's 55 plus 12. That'd be what, 67?
Yeah. I think that's Shane McClanahan extension money. Fair?
It would make sense because Snell's was 5 for 50, so they're going like, okay, 4 for 67, 5 for 67.
Yeah. And that doesn't
And he
include
said,
all the
"Nah, fam."
incentives and bonuses that, again, I mean, like
Yeah,
Jeffrey Springs, let's be honest, he's not going to get $67 million out of that deal. Like he's got to win the Cy Young Award 4 times in a row or something crazy to
right.
max
Something
that out.
ridiculous. Yeah,
But they're going to be able to make, a couple 100,000 here and there and
yeah.
make some extra coin there as well. So that's one thing. Two, out of these three, Yandy, Springs, Fairbanks, who is the most likely to make an all-star appearance over the course of these deals?
I think because of the position, Pete Fairbanks. If he's just the
I
most
agree.
dominating closer, or just reliever, I think. And besides, he has helped himself. It's 2023. So you have to brand yourself. Pete Fairbanks has branded himself. Like even people that are just like fans of other teams and they've played against the Rays, they know about Pete Fairbanks if he's pitched against them. Because he's just the crazy eyes, the whole persona. Like he has done that, and that's fantastic for him and his brand because people recognize the name. So I would say him.
No, I agree. And like Yandy, I don't think he'll really ever get the respect he probably deserves. Also, that's a position where you're trying to fight with Devers and Ramirez and Bregman, and then starting pitchers can be iffy as well. I mean, again, there's a lot of relievers that have made all-star appearances that they make it's the one and done thing, and I could see that being the situation with Fairbanks, especially based on what he did in this second half. If he carries that over to the first half of 2023, he would be a lock. I mean, again, Andrew Kittredge, he has an all-star appearance to his name. Like, that's kind of what we're dealing with there. So I agree with you. All right, getting to some comments here. First on the Fairbanks signing, John says, anytime the Rays spend money, I'm happy. Glad to have an actual closer. Robin Madden says, a wonderful thing. Brian Kim says, makes me believe we'll sign people to fat contracts now. And then the thoughts on the expected Yandy Díaz extension. Alex Mullins said, I like it. I love it. I want some more of it. Brian Kim, I mean, now it's a matter of ... Who's next? I'm so glad the Rays are doing this. It's such a great thing for us fans. Chris Snyder says plate discipline is a must. Frank has an interesting comment here. I guess it's okay, but frankly, it seems like a cover job for the fact that they made no real effort to improve this team. Our lack of offense has shown itself for the last 3 years in the playoffs, and yet basically nothing is done. I get what he's trying to say, but I also look at it long-term, the stability of this organization, not just in 2023, but in 24, 25, 26, and beyond.
Again, like I said at the top, it's not the gold medal that the fandom wanted, but it's the second best scenario. It's telling them, hey, we believe in the guys that we have here. Okay, these guys are good. And you like them. They're fan favorites. So you get to see them more often. Like that, the continuity is an aspect that has been longed and yearned for by Rays fans. They're doing that with these extensions. And obviously they have a lot of guys under control as well. So that should bode well for them. But this has been going on since I told you this since the Wander Franco extension. I said, this just seems like Stu is ready to spend more money, not crazy Steve Cohen money, but he's going to put a little bit of dough into the team, which obviously he should. Is it nice? And we should say, great. Yes. But it's also, hey, you're a billionaire owner. You should probably spend money on the team to improve it.
Yeah.
So, you got the Manny Margot, you got the Tyler Glass now, and now these 3 extensions. This is really good.
Yes. And you could argue that he's spending up front now, so he doesn't have to spend as much or more later on. But then again, the minute that Yandy Díaz gets too expensive and that next year of arbitration, he can, the team could decide to ship him off and trade him and get prospects and do the whole recycling thing that they do, which they can still do. Just again, not to say that Yandy Díaz can't be traded in 2024 or 2025, but
sure.
It is nice to see the Rays actually lock down some really, really key players going forward. And it should give the fan base, I would think, some confidence as well. Thank you for making the Locked On Rays podcast your very first listen every day. Now make your second listen the Locked On MLB Prospects podcast. That is also free and available on all platforms. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you on Wednesday.